You're watching New Car Spin. I'm your host, Brian Grant, and this is the Audi A3 Cab. It is the 2.0 front-wheel drive. So you'll see here it has optional 18-inch wheels, which are part of a sport package. It's actually Tango Red Metallic, so it is a metallic color. You can actually see it in here being metallic. It's not just red, it's not flat. And then we have convenience package, sport package, which includes the front seats that are extra bolstered, and suspension, and it all comes out to $42,845. Which, considering all your options as far as convertibles with a back seat, you don't really have too many options. And at $42,000, it's a decent price for what you get, because this is actually a very fun car to drive. And if you haven't checked it out already, the A3 sedan is a very popular vehicle. Actually, it is the most popular video on my channel, New Car Spin, so far. So I figured, hey, there is a cab, let's shoot it. Now, of course, this is the same MQB platform as the Audi TT and the Volkswagen Golf and the A3 sedan. So you can see a lot of similarity here, because if you go to the trunk, folding rear seats. That's a thing I've never seen on a convertible before, except for Audi. Strange, but the seats do come forward. Really cool. Another thing is actually when you open the door with the windows down, you'll notice the window comes up a little bit, so that when you shut it, it doesn't vibrate inside the door. Something you haven't seen on Audis for a very long time, probably at least the past decade, is finally back. And if you don't see it here, I'll show it to you at the end of the video. But if you do see it here, leave a comment below, because I'd like to see if you notice the difference. I see it. Anyway, let me show you what's going on with this seat, because the seat's really cool too. Not only does it have a strap here to hold the seat belt in place against the seat, you have a handle here that moves it forward so you can get in and out. But you also have this button. So you press this button and it double times the speed in which it moves the seat forward and back. And you can also press the button again, it goes back to where it was, and then now you're back. And of course, these are the sports seats, so they have extra side bolstering, and then the bottom bolsters are a little thicker, and then it extends out. Passenger seat as well, as you can see. Very large seat, nice and supportive. Even someone my size, 6 feet, 270 pounds, fits in this car just nicely. I also like the soft top because it actually folds away while you drive. Okay, so here we are inside the Audi A3 Cab, and I'm going to start it up right now. When that happens, the screen pops up. You can obviously go full boat on this thing and get quattro, Bang Olufsen stereo. You can go, the sky's the limit, really. And speaking of which, let me just pull this switch and lower the top right now. You'll see it automatically releases itself and then stows itself away. Doesn't take very long at all. And just to remind you, while it's doing that, the actual engine is running. This is how quiet this thing is. On the door, there are 5 window switches. So these window switches are front windows, these are the back windows, and then this controls all of them. So when I press this, they all go down at once, which is very nice to have when you want to throw the top down and just hit the road. So let's hit the road. So there is an A5 cab, and the A5 cab basically has more interior space, a bigger engine, default quattro, and it also has a much higher price. And that's what I like about the A3. The A3 is still a fun convertible, and it's just a matter of getting out there on the road and just enjoying all this open space. So let's go do that, shall we? Now, I do have a dual clutch automatic. It's actually a 7-speed in the front wheel drive version. If you get the quattro version, it is a 6-speed. And I also have a fully adjustable steering wheel, tilt, telescoping, ingress, egress. The AC is great, and I have drive select, which allows me to change the modes. Because I have the sport package in this car, I can go between comfort, auto, dynamic, and individual. I'm going to leave it in auto right now, and then when we get on the open road, I'll switch it to dynamic. Throw it in drive, and let's hit the road. One thing I like about driving a convertible is just the open feeling. It's just very liberating. You can't go wrong. It's like a date night. Now, of course, Audis can be driven quickly and aggressively, but they can also be driven comfortably, which is what I'm doing right now. You can just put the top down and have a nice, relaxing cruise, and then when you feel like it, you can open it up. Of course, not a good thing to do here in Austin because people just don't know how to drive, but when you get to a more open area, you can do that. Now, handling wise, people may say that this might feel a little soft, and it's because it's not as hardcore as the A5 Cabriolet. But at the same time, you got to keep in mind, this thing's much lighter than the A5. And I kind of like the fact that you have these convertibles that don't weigh thousands of pounds. I mean, you can get into an A3, I think right here, I don't know what the weight is, but I'll put it right here on the screen for you. And I'll compare it to the A5 right here on the screen for you as well. There's a significant difference. And obviously between the sedans and the convertibles, there's a significant difference. And that's because of all the additional structure refitting that has to be put in to keep it a solid vehicle. And there is a bit of a flex going on, but the flex is part of why it feels a little soft. And that's fine. You don't really want a stiff convertible. It's just not enjoyable. You just want to cruise, and you can't cruise when you're constantly being thrown around. No, you want it to soak everything up and kind of play around with the road, because that's really what you want. You want to play. So let's go play. Now, sure, front-wheel drive isn't exactly what most people would consider a proper Audi to be, but you know, you're not going to be driving most convertibles in the dead of winter. So do you really need all-wheel drive in the dead of summer? Well, it depends on how quickly you want to go. But again, what I'm saying here is the Audi A3 Cab is a great cruising vehicle. You know, you got a 2+2 configuration, and the top is down, the windows are down, and it's just a very carefree car. I wouldn't mind parking this in Santa Monica with the top and the windows down. I would lock it, but that's about it, because it's almost at a price point where you don't have to care too much, especially when the fact is it is still an Audi, but at the same time, it's not a very serious investment for people. It's like, why would you spend $75,000 on a 4 Series convertible when you can spend $42,000 on this and just have not a care in the world? I think that's much more enjoyable than having something so serious and having to constantly be so worried about it. Of course, if you can afford that, good for you. But for most people, something like this, I mean, Hyundai doesn't make a convertible, Kia doesn't make a convertible. Everyone's into these SUVs and these trucks. Everyone's into these SUVs and these trucks. And as far as I'm concerned, those things are boring. There's no character. They're there for a purpose. And that purpose is really just transportation. And once you get past transportation and getting all your crap to and from Costco, what's left is nothing. But when you have a convertible, what you're saying is, I enjoy my day. Let's get on the freeway. I'm gonna put it in dynamic mode, and I'm actually gonna hit the button and roll the windows up. Now, as you can tell, it moves quite nicely. The Quattro has a little bit more power and is a little bit quicker. And of course the A5 is more powerful and even quicker than that. And then of course there's the S5 Cab, which I may drive soon. And it's very powerful. But this is the least powerful, cheapest Cabriolet 2+2 configuration that you can get from Audi, at least here in the US. Now this is what it's like at 70 miles an hour, 75. You can tell my hair is barely moving. And there's no windscreen, no additional net. This is just how well insulated the cabin is from the wind. I don't know why the person in front of me is braking. Doing our car review is hard when people around you just can't drive because they're busy texting. Anyway, you can tell the camera's shaking. The camera is mounted to the window, and the window is having what you're calling cowl shake. And we're on a fairly smooth freeway, but there are expansion joints, and every time it hits those joints, even the gap in the concrete here, you can see the window moving, and that's only exaggerated by the camera. Without the camera there, you wouldn't notice that, and you can see on this camera what's going on with the full-on movement. It's not as bad as you may think it is. Now you can get navigation, and you can get a Bang Olufsen stereo. You definitely want Bang Olufsen, but at the same time, you're still not going to hear everything with these windows and the top down like this. It's not a full, you know, like you're giving everyone a concert. Maybe I don't like Ed Sheeran, whatever his name is. And you see what I mean by people cannot drive around here? Passing power is pretty good. Whee! Now it doesn't growl, it doesn't shout, it's not a very angry car. So if you're looking for something aggressive, you want the A5 or maybe even the S5. The Quattro A3 convertible may be a little bit more aggressive than this one, but like I'm saying here, this is a chill, just having fun, 2+2, getting out there and really soaking up the daylight. I mean, that's what this is about. And please be sure to like and subscribe, because I do these videos for you. Obviously today is an exception. This is more or less not work at this point. So is the A3 perfect? Pretty damn close. I mean, there may be a few things that people don't like, and that's going to happen. I don't think you can have 100% perfection, but this car is a throwback to kind of how cars used to be. They were smaller, they were lighter, they were fun, they were engaging. That's what this one is. Sure, it has the latest electronic steering, and it has a fancy dual clutch automatic only, no manual option, but a dual clutch manual automatic. And the reality is here, it's a turnkey situation. 42 grand, get it and go. It's amazing how much more connected to nature you are, and how grounded to the ground you are when the top is down and all of a sudden the clouds obscure the sun and you cool off immediately. I mean, you feel the effect of that immediately. It's not like I'm cocooned in a cabin and forced to use the AC. Right here I can just turn it off and it's just me and this open sky. So what I'm going to do now is actually put the roof up so you can see what it's like with the roof up. Okay, I've hit 30 miles an hour and I'll push down. Oh, and the top is moving while I'm coming to a stop. We're going 10. The light up here is red, so this is cool too, because if it ever starts downpouring, I can just still stay on the move and do it. On some of those other vehicles with the hard top, you have to come to a complete stop. Also, if the traffic was to keep going right now, even without the top completely closed, I can still sort of accelerate in from the intersection, at least not to tick everybody off. But here we go. Windows are up, top is up. I'm gonna press auto on the climate control, kind of turn the fan speed to a reasonable level so you can hear me and not the AC system. And yeah, I love that new car smell, by the way. It's kind of why I named the channel New Car Spin. It's like new car smell, but we're taking it for a spin. The top, by the way, is insulated, so you don't really feel any heat radiating off of this top when it's up, which is a great thing because when you're driving along, you don't feel like you're being baked in. And it's also pretty quiet because of that. Like the freeway is right there, and you hear a little bit of a pitch from it, just like you would in any car. But it doesn't seem like I'm in an aluminum can, for instance. I mean, it's not a Bentley at $300,000 or $400,000, but for $42,000, it's a lot quieter than the Fiat 124 Spider. I mean, we're cruising at 50 miles an hour. Braking too, speaking of this red light, braking in this A3 is fantastic. I don't know if you've ever driven an A3, but if you haven't, definitely go check an A3 out, whether it's the sedan or the Cabriolet. The S3 and the RS3 are different. The A3, though, is almost perfection. While we're here, let's kind of see what the acceleration's like. Now, front-wheel drive does have a tendency to torque steer in most applications, but this one has an electronic diff and traction control. And you can feel it working the power out. My whole concern is that with 221 pound-feet of torque, it's actually very similar to what the 2-liter TDI Volkswagens used to have. They were 236 pound-feet of torque. And that's a lot of torque to put down on front-wheel drive. In this application, 221 pound-feet of torque with a dual-clutch automatic of 7 speeds, and the torque basically at idle, very similar circumstance, but we're in a convertible, so there's more weight. It's a very unique combination for the United States, being that we have a 2+2 front-wheel drive with a dual clutch. I don't think there's anyone else in the industry who does that right now. But really, you don't ever have to floor it. That's the beauty of all this torque down low. You just keep your foot about midway in the throttle and let the transmission do all the shifting for you, and next thing you know, it's just totally worked everything out. So I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend. This is a great Labor Day weekend vehicle. It's a fantastic color, and it's plenty of fun. I just wish I had a beach near me to really open it up. But for now, it is 94 degrees in Austin, Texas, and I'm really looking forward to the fall. Something like this would be nice to have just to take out on the weekend and really enjoy life. Thanks for watching. This is the first time in a long time Audi has done partial automatic seats. So the back is controlled by a rotary knob, and then the seat bottom is lifted in the back and the front by this electronic control, and it slides forward and back. And then of course this is lumbar. So that's what it was. Partial power front seats. And why are they doing that? Well, I think it's because of the fact that it has to fold forward, and there's a limited amount of space here compared to the Audi A5 and the S5 Cabriolet. What we have here is a very small, as you can see, a very small space to be able to get people in and out. And well, as far as the 2+2 is, to me that's acceptable. So let me show you what it looks like with the top going up and down. Give me 1 second. you'll see it's 72 degrees auto. And now if I put the top up by pushing down here, you'll see that there's an icon there for the top moving up. And then you'll see in the mirror, the top moving. So it does its thing back there. Now let's just say I had a huge drastic temperature change between inside and outside. Well, now I can put the temperature at 77. If you hold down auto, it changes to 77 on the passenger side. That kind of syncs it. Now they both change together. Anyway, I had it at 72 with the top down, and I have it at 77 with the top up. What happens if I put the top down? It changes. You see that? It goes back to where it was with the top down. So there you go, 72, so the air is cooler. And then if I put the top back up, when the top is closed, it'll remember the feature. You can see there, it's showing top is going up. Here comes the top. And keep an eye on 77.